Welcome to Technocracy News on this January 15th, 2026. I'm Logan House, joined by your host, Patrick Wood of Technocracy.news. Patrick, how are you doing?
I'm doing great. Here we are. New stories to cover again. It seems that every day there's something new.
Yep, and the first one we have is Final Frontier, the stampede to put AI data centers in space. We've talked about this before, and it sounds a little crazy, but the big names in AI are actually wanting to do this, put data centers in space.
What's wrong with this picture? You know, we just got done getting data centers all over the face of the earth, really everywhere at this point, and they want to put them in space now. This is really crazy idea, right? Do you think this is part of their drive to get to outer space in the first place, to put AI in space so that they can launch their starships with AI embedded at that point to cruise the universe? Is that possibly a motive here?
Yeah, and it's weird. I mean, I don't know if it's weird, but I can see Elon doing this because Elon, he's all space. But Google, I don't know if I've ever heard of Google being involved in anything in the space world, right? But Google has, as you say here, Project Suncatcher. Is that's their name? They're putting this under.
That's right. This is right. Mostly, they say this is all about energy at this point, and low temperatures as well in space. But you shed some of the difficulties in space. Apparently, with low temperatures, you don't have water to cool your CPUs or GPUs. You don't have the type of issues you have with solar on the planet here. In space, you have like 80% efficiency on all the solar panels, and so that removes kind of a constraint for sure for energy. And otherwise, you think, well, AI could work just as well in space as anywhere else, given the compute, if you will. It just sounds crazy to me, though, to put it in space, unless you consider maybe there's another biblical explanation as well. If somehow all of the infrastructure on Earth was torched, I'm thinking like during the tribulation period when all the trees get burned up and the grass gets burned up and, all the face of the earth is really just disrupted with earthquakes and all the fiber optic cables are going to be destroyed at that point probably. It'd be interesting if there was now a new, a backup plan, if you will, for all of the infrastructure to be in space.
Well, if this is a system that will be used by the Antichrist, you would think so, right? If he would have to be able to use it during all the unrest going on, and if the data centers on Earth couldn't operate, then he would have the ones in space.
You'd think that there's a possibility.
Yeah,
it's kind of a scary thing. What Elon Musk has discovered with his mesh network he's established in space, they can transmit data between the satellites using laser beams. That's even more efficient than fiber optic. But they can wirelessly, they can transmit data between these satellites at speeds over like 2 terabits of information per second. That's super, super crazy, right?
Yeah.
So they've kind of solved some of the communication issues between satellites. That means and of course they reach all around the Earth. There's one in your city, there's one in mine, and there's one in Africa, and one in China, and one in Iran, and whatever. They can all communicate. They can communicate seamlessly at high speeds. That isn't possible even with the terror networks we have right now. So just saying, this could be an interesting possibility.
Yeah. And this also isn't just Google and Elon. There's other people, other companies trying to get in on this as well, right?
There are many companies. I counted at last glance, there's about 6 companies, startup companies that want to get into the space well, that's a pun, I guess. They want to get into the space, into outer space, to say. So they're contractors. They're coming aside, Google especially, to get into their project.
Wouldn't Elon have to work with these companies in order to implement this in space? I mean,
absolutely.
Because he would have to. He's the one who gets the rockets to shoot them up there and everything. And unless these companies are going to start a whole space segment of their company, you know?
That's right. It'll be X all the way, or at least Elon Musk with SpaceX. He's the only one that has the big rockets to deliver huge payloads into space. So
yeah.
He'll be the contractor. And you know, it's so interesting to me that NASA has been completely absorbed by SpaceX. This used to be an agency of the government, U.S. government, right? And so, but now they're looking at Elon Musk as kind of the main contractor now for all the missiles and outer space stuff. And NASA's still there. They're getting money. But the function has been taken over by Elon Musk, one person.
Yeah.
Where it used to be an agency, used to be a government for the people, et cetera. Now one guy owns all this hardware and the capabilities to put missiles into space.
Wow.
Yeah.
There are also, I guess, Google's Project Suncatcher paper is suggesting that launch costs could drop below $200 per kilogram. That's 7 or 8 times cheaper than today. So,
yeah, that's another factor for sure. Just the cost of delivery. That's always been the issue.
But I guess
right
that will be up to Elon, right? However much he wants to charge these companies, because he probably will want, you know, a monopoly in space of his AI data centers in space. You would think.
You know, they talk about the competition between China and how China is going to outstrip us collectively. But you have companies competing like X and or Grok and Gemini, OpenAI, all these companies. There's a competition on one hand, but on the other hand, you see this this bonding together, where they're talking about AI in a general sense now. It's going to be a utility somehow all together on the same page. I don't know how that will work.
I have seen Elon talk about, when I think I've mentioned this before, but something happened with Google's AI where it was answering questions in a weird way. And he called the lead developer with Google and was like, what's going on? And he's calling his competition's lead developer, who he's friends with, and asking him about the product and giving him suggestions and stuff. So they're in competition, but they're also working together.
Yes, that's very clear.
Yeah.
Very clear. And there's been so many experts at the top of this field in any case. They've been switched around.
Yeah, they all work. They've worked at all these different companies.
I know. So they all know each other.
Yeah.
Friendly competition?
I guess so.
I'm not sure, but
well,
yeah.
We have about 2 minutes left in this segment. We can go to the next one if you want. It's
let's take a look at this story. This
the
is
dangers of implementing AI in government administration.
Here's what's interesting about this. This is written by a Russian scholar or analyst in Russia, I might add, and he's talking about the pitfalls of AI in government. This is a spot on article.
Well, that kind of brings a question. Where is Russia with the AI race? You hear a lot about China, but you don't hear much about Russia in the AI space.
You read this article, you'll see exactly what's going on in Russia.
Okay.
They're all in on AI right now, just like we are in America, just like the EU is, and like other countries, China especially. Russia is all in on AI. This gives you an idea of the global scope of technocracy and why it's spreading to the whole planet, probably because of AI. But AI is present now, as it seems, in every government on the planet, and it's supplanting the rule of law. This is the problem. Now you say, well, what kind of law does Russia have? They have laws there. Any country on planet has law. Even in Iran, they have laws, right?
Yeah.
Well, okay, so whatever those laws are, they were invented by men in the first place to control society. Now AI is coming in and with no compassion involved to supplant the rule of law with this new theory of management by AI.
Mm-hmm. Wow.
This is not good. This is not good for the whole planet. Just consider all the ramifications of AI controlling all these governments of the world.
Uh-huh. And as we've talked before, we're going to go to a break, but as we talked before, if that's the case, if AI is running most of these governments, then it makes it real easy for a one world government to be formed, right?
Yes, that's right. Exactly right. And then add on top of that the Skynet that Elon Musk has set up in space. Mm-hmm. Consider this is really crazy stuff.
It really is. But we got to go to a quick break. We'll be right back in just a moment and keep discussing this.
Hello, I'm Brandon House. Would you like to gain access to over 20 years of my radio shows, TV shows, my books? I've written 15 books, and most of those books are ebooks now. And we have conference DVDs, conferences where we filmed our conferences at the Ozarks, literally starting 20 years ago. It's all available in our archived vault. All you have to do is go to worldviewtube.com/vault, worldviewtube.com/vault, and for a reasonable monthly fee, you gain access to over 20 years of Christian worldview programming, news, information, books, documentaries, and a powerful search engine. And folks, it's a great way not only to educate yourself, equip yourself, but it's a big way that you can help fund our continuation as a broadcast network. Please check it out. worldviewtube.com/vault, worldviewtube.com/vault, and help us continue pushing out a Christian worldview.
All right, welcome back from the break. We left off talking about this article here, The Dangers of Implementing AI in Government Administration. And the author gives some the problems, he says. AI in government administration, the problems. Transparency of use, reinforcement of bias. AI is trained on human-generated content and inevitably inherits stereotypes present in society. This becomes especially evident when comparing models created in different countries and cultural context. The biases and unspoken assumptions embedded in each culture can increase existing inequalities and discrimination via AI. The problem of accountability and responsibility and technical imperfections of AI, for example, neural network hallucinations, factual errors, the problem of reproducibility. One can get two different answers to the same question asked of the same model at different times. Those are some valid problems there, I would say.
They really are, and this is not dependent on the culture. In other words, different cultures are going to approach AI differently, but AI is going to treat them all the same. And, AI is trained, of course, on information that comes out of these different cultures in the first place. Mm-hmm. There's probably another overarching aspect of this, because our AI in America, OpenAI, et cetera, Gemini, those AIs have been trained on all the cultures of the world. So is there a bias to make the world into one big melting pot of a culture? You see what I'm saying?
Uh-huh.
Are those cultures going to be imposed on us somehow by renderings of AI in our country? And other countries, the same issue with us. Well, this is really thorny. I like this idea. However, the third issue there, the problem of accountability. The use of AI could serve as a way to shift responsibility from decision makers to the machine.
Mm-hmm.
This is already happening because humans are lazy, for one thing. If the machine can make decisions for somebody, okay, let them do that while they rest on their laurels, right? But when something goes wrong, well, it's a machine. The AI screwed up, not me. No, I can't. I'm not accountable for what AI did. It's just doing its thing. And this could possibly turn government upside down with all the interlopers sitting around with their feet on their desk, letting AI make all the decisions for them. And when it goes wrong, they say, "Who? Not me. Don't look at me."
Yeah, exactly. And I mean, just an example. I mean, imagine if the Islamic Republic of Iran started being run by AI and it was trained and taught on the ideology of the leaders now. I mean, imagine something like that were to come into the West, right?
I know. Yes, and my guess is it already has in some instances. Mm-hmm. You can see some bias already in Grok and Gemini, OpenAI, ChatGPT. You can see bias, for instance, favoring Islam as a peaceful religion, for instance. This. So is it seeping into our culture? I think maybe it is already.
Yeah, you definitely see. I mean, look at Texas, for example. I mean, the Islamists are definitely planting their foot in America, and that's implementing. Yes. That's also coming across on the culture side of things as well.
Big time.
So,
yeah.
All right. Yeah. Well, we got two more stories to cover here. We got the next one: network cities, technocracy operating outside the law.
This concept of network cities is kind of foreign to most people.
Uh-huh.
But there's several instances of this in our country already. Sometimes they're called city-states or technates. Basically, it's a technocrat playground for alternative societies where anything goes. They're exclusively funded by technocrat billionaires. They make their own laws where decisions are made by scientific fiat without political discourse. That's a technocracy. They're free to pursue the transhuman dream of immortality and experiment with psychedelic substances. This is the singular vision of arch technocrats like Peter Thiel and for the world. This is the same cabal that has invaded Washington to transmogrify America. So these network cities, they're popping up. They're popping up all over the world. There's one in Greenland right now called Prospera. There's one in Silicon Valley being established in the Bay Area. They're just getting started at this point, but they've carved out their niche of land. They're going to build a city there. It won't be subject to the county laws or any other city or even the state. It's going to be a state within the state at that point. This is kind of what's happening, by the way, with this Islamic towns in Texas. where they say, well, we're going to be ruled by Sharia law. You're not going to be telling us what to do in our city, in other words. So this is a bad precedent, but the tech oligarchs have kind of broken the mold here, and they've enforced their way, or they're forced their way into communities around the country and the world to create these network cities. And they're not very successful, I have to say, at this point, but that doesn't stop them.
Yeah, and this is kind of on a larger scale what they want to do in Gaza as well, with the plans they have there.
You're right. Exactly right. Yeah. So that anywhere these technocrats go with all their billions of bucks, you see them expressing this idea. If we can only get our little, if only we can implement our philosophy even as a test, that would prove the point to the rest of the world that technocracy is the way to go.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, I don't like that idea. I don't think most Americans won't like it. We're based on the rule of law here in our country, not the rule of a technocrat.
Mm-hmm. Or the rule of AI.
Or the rule of AI.
Yeah.
Exactly.
All right. Well, we got one last story to cover here. Just a few minutes left. Farmland shock. Georgia grower drops 3,000 acres, warns of unplanted ground in 2026. And this goes along with what we've been talking about, the war on the farmers, right, Patrick?
Yes, it is. It is. This is a story. We need to tell this story every time that we can. There's not enough time to cover it all the time, but this should be a nonstop topic to consider for people, because we have to eat. If we don't eat, we're going to starve. And at this point, you can see all of these countries around the world are struggling with the agriculture industry, mostly because of technocracy, because of global warming and all the stuff that the United Nations has thrown out at the farmers. For instance, like using nitrogen-based fertilizers. They basically kind of outlawed around the world, especially in the EU. And so the farmers say, if you don't let us use fertilizer, for peace sake, we're not going to be able to produce any food, and you people are going to starve. And that's the truth. That's why they amass these huge tractor brigades to go into cities and shut the cities down. Imagine that this hasn't happened in America, but it's happening all over Europe. The farmers are absolutely enraged at this point. Well, the World Economic Forum, Klaus Schwab says, eat the bugs.
Exactly. I was about to say, you can eat bugs and the fake meat and fake milk and all the different products that Bill Gates is pushing and pumping out, right?
Yeah. And isn't it interesting that God gave us the ground, and He told us to grow plants in the ground for our sustenance, for our meat, for all of our needs of life, right? The land, that's what God gave us to do that. And He told Adam to go and tend the garden, right? That was his role, initially at least. Well, you see, all of a sudden, they're turning this on its head. You don't need the land. They're saying, you don't need the land to provide food. We'll provide the food for you in our factories, our factory food. We can grow lots of insects because they multiply like crazy. And so you can have lots of protein powder from the insects and mix it with your fake milk. Whatever. And that's just fine with these people. But this is basically anti-God at this point, because they're just turning the whole narrative on its head.
And Gates is really leading the charge on this, because he's not only building these factories and producing these products, But Gates is also buying up a bunch of farmland, isn't he?
Yeah, he is.
And what's he
Exactly
doing
right.
with it? Nothing? Is he just buying it up to take over the property and sit on it so no one can farm it?
No,
or-
actually, he's producing food along the way, and I wouldn't say organic food, but he's producing food, and if he wanted to take it all out of production someday, he could just let it go fallow, and that would make more market for his fake meat.
Yeah, exactly. Maybe that's the plan.
Could be.
All right. Well, we're out of time for today. We'll be back next week. Until then, take care.